ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ, ਨਮਸਤੇ, ਆਦਾਬ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦੋਸਤ ਵਰਿੰਦਰ ਰਖੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਾਂ ਜੀ ਰੇਡੀਓ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਅਤੇ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੋਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਗਾਜ਼ ਹੋਇਆ, ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ 2023, ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਪੱਬਾਂ ਭਾਰ ਹੋ ਗਈਆਂ। ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਇਹ ਆ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਕਿ ਲੋਕ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਜਾਗਰੂਕ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਅਸਲੀ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਨੇ। ਅਸਲੀ ਮੁੱਦਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਚੱਲਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤਿੰਨ ਵੱਡੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਪੀਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੱਤਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਵਿਪਕਸ਼ NDP, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਥਰਡ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਲਿਬਰਲ। ਇੱਥੇ ਦੋ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਅਦਰਸ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਬਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੇਨ ਘੋਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਵਾ ਉਹ ਪੀਸੀ ਦਾ ਅਤੇ NDP ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ। ਪਰ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਾਂਟੇ ਦੀ ਟੱਕਰ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਵੀ ਤਿਆਰ, ਪੱਬਾਂ ਭਾਰ। ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਪੀਸੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟੱਕਰ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਤਕੜੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਜਾਂ NDP ਜਾਂ ਅਦਰਸ। ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਾ ਕਿ ਪੀਸੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਟੱਕਰ ਲੈ ਰਿਹਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਦਾਇਰਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਘੋਲ ਹਮੇਸ਼ਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਜੀ। ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਨਵਰਸੇਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਇਹ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ 'ਚ ਹੋਏਗੀ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਦੇ ਮੇਪਲਸ ਤੋਂ, ਐਡੀ ਕਲਿਸਟੋ ਤਰਾਵਾਸ। ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਆਵਰ ਸ਼ੋ।
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
But in Maples, always people say there is only two communities that can be highlighted. So how are you feeling for that things?
So the Maples as a riding includes Ember Trails, part of the Maples all the way to Dr. Jose Rizal, and Seven Oaks Crossing. So the Maples is a vibrant community made up of Europeans, South Asians, and many, many Filipinos. I am very comfortable in the Maples. I lived there when my father built a home off West Mandalay, and I have lived in Ember Trails for 31 years. I know it well, and I'm very comfortable. I call it home.
And after all the things in this election, so what is your agenda for upcoming election? Because there are a lot of other candidates from different parties. They are also putting their 100% and they have their own agendas. So what's your party agenda in this election?
So first of all, my agenda is the people's agenda. We in the Maples often feel like the poor cousins of the South Ends. So when it comes to education, and if you know anything about my story, you will know that education was my way into being who I am today. I have a deaf son. Back in the 1980s, I fought for equity in education. What that means is that every child deserves the chance to learn the way they learn. So therefore, we need to increase funding for educational assistance. We need to increase funding for our teachers. We need to increase funding for transportation. So many of the moms in Ember Trails have told me that they no longer have bus services because transportation was cut. We need to make sure that children have lunches or breakfasts, because I know in your community you look after your children, but it doesn't mean that every community has the same ability. So we need to make sure that there's universal nutrition in our schools. We also need recreational programs after school. Our children need to, not only those that can afford, but those that can't afford, have soccer after school. Our youth, who so often don't know what to do with themselves. There's so many potential places where we can build recreational after school, extracurriculum after school, where they can be engaged with younger children or seniors in our own communities.
So I think you're looking more into community of Maples. So my question is, what you did in your past years for a Maple resident or for our community or for the Winnipeggers? Did any volunteer work or something like that?
So I have done many things in my path. I am a founding member of Women Business Owners of Manitoba, where I started a mentorship program in 2000, where I would link entrepreneurs with experience to entrepreneurs that were just upcoming. I volunteered with many different organizations, but my proudest is always when I am building capacity for newcomers. As an immigrant myself, I know what it's like to come to a new country and not speak the language. So I often, through my business, which I led and found in 1999, I would build pathways where I would go to governments, I would go to unions, I would go to employers, and I would build capacity. So an example of that, welders that were internationally trained could come to Winnipeg and work, but they needed a little more than what they had. So they needed gap training, they needed language. So many of the projects that I did through my business, and you can Google me because you will see that I did programs like workplace integration of newcomers. Back in the 1980s, I fought for American Sign Language in private schools and mainstream education. I am a proud mom of a deaf son who went to Seven Oaks, and Seven Oaks today has American Sign Language interpreters in schools for all children that need a little help. That is one of so many other things that I have done.
Mm-hmm. But the other hand, the liberals in federal, people are fed up from them because a lot of people are saying they're losing their bread and butter because of increasing of inflation and rate of interest. So do you think people will accept your party in province after seeing all the things happening in a federal level?
So first and foremost, I am running because I'm Eddie Calisto Tavares, because I cannot stand on the sidelines. Yes, my party, the Manitoba Liberal Party, which is different than the federal party. Now, I am a liberal.
Both are same. Liberal is liberal, federal or provincially. Both are same. We can't say that that's a different party or this is a different party, but both are same. Liberal is liberal all over Canada.
And that is your opinion. For me, I'm a liberal because I believe in individual human rights. So back in the 70s, when I became a Canadian citizen, I was a woman, a young girl, from a culture that did not empower women. My culture. Women were supposed to get married, have babies, but not be who I am today. I had a father who had one girl and 5 boys. My father always saw me as a capable human being. For me, being a liberal, it is about human rights. Secondly, I am a member of our community. I am a resident. I want to empower people, both women, men, children. So yes, I do have a platform. Yes, I am a liberal, but it doesn't mean that I will not fight for what our community needs. I will listen to the residents. And just like I have fought to bring a bylaw so that we would get rid of the cannabis grow-ups in our neighborhood, just like I went into the Maples Care Home when nobody was allowed to go during COVID, and I put on PPE and I fought for the seniors at the Maples Care Home, including my father who died of COVID. I will fight for Ember Trails residents, for Seven Oaks residents, and for the Maples within my riding, because I can, and because I have a voice, and I can fight for you.
And what's your party stand on healthcare? Because from last 2-3 years, the provincial healthcare is on a ICU or ventilator. So what's your party will do after if they get elected?
We need to reestablish general practitioners. We all have the right to have our own doctors. We need to invest in recruitment and retention. We need to invest in universities where we cut programs and we eliminated people that wanted to go into that stream. The NDP says they're going to open the general hospitals, like Seven Oaks. Look at the blueprint. Look at the fine print. In 8 years. In 8 years is not good enough. 8 years is 2 elections from now. So even though politicians are making a whole lot of promises, please look at the fine print. We are not going to have Seven Oaks Hospital open right now. 8 years is too long. We need it open within the next year, year and a half. But let's be realistic. We don't have nurses and doctors right now to open additional beds. We need to recruit them. We need to retain those that we have. And then we can say we can open Seven Oaks Hospital.
What do you have for, especially for Maple, if we talk about the Maples, because that's it, you're running for a candidate from Maples. So what is your first goal if you elected for Maple? What is your priorities for Maples?
Well, first and foremost, I have to be there for the residents.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, when there are many things you can do in opposition. Don't believe that if you're in opposition, you cannot do anything. You look at Cindy Lemereau and you look at what she has done under the Liberals with only 3 people in Parliament, not even opposition, third party. You can you can be a critic. You can work collaboratively with other parties. You can work collaboratively with the city councillor. Infrastructure is not just a city's problem. It is a province problem. And as an MLA, you have the power to team up with others to make and improve the quality of lives for the people in your riding.
I'm just asking straightforward question. What is your goal if you elected? What's any 2 steps do you want to take after winning this election? What is the priority works you want to done for, especially for Maples?
First, education. We have to increase funding and we have to bring education back to where it needs to be. Community safety. We often don't feel safe in our community. We need to deal with the core of why that's happening. And if that means working with the city, because policing and crime belongs under the city, but justice is under the province. That's very important to me. Healthcare is very important to me. We need to ensure that we have more trained nurses and doctors. And for me, seniors are very important, not just because of what happened to my father, but what I learned about the shortfall. We do not treat our seniors with respect and the dignity that they need. I know South Asian people at this point in time think they can just take care of their loved ones at home, and you may. But take it from this immigrant of 50 years. Never in a million years that I think I needed help from a long-term care. But my father had Alzheimer's, and we no longer could keep him safe. And that's why I learned what I learned from long-term care. So we need an independent seniors advocate in Manitoba, so people have a place to go for the information they need to look after their seniors. And I will make sure that that happens.
So one last question, because we have a limited time. We talk about that things. Do you think in future you have capability to change all those things together?
I know what I'm able to do based on my desire, my tenacity. So I have formal education. If you're asking about my education, I was a young 17-year-old when my dad allowed me to go back to school. I got my academic grade 12 in 14 months, 10, 11, and 12. At the age of 43, I went to University of Manitoba. So you're never too old to learn. My children were grown up, and I have my designation in human resources, organizational behavior.
If you elected in Maples, same thing happened. Our MP, Kevin, he is elected for Northwest, north of Winnipeg. But in last 2 years, he never did anything for Maples or Burroughs or Tyndall. He is elected in federal government, but he is not doing anything for these people. He is only showed up on events. That's not enough for him. So people wants to see him working in the field. His daughter Cindy, she is working, but as our MP, because he belongs to your party, but he is not doing anything.
So I'm not here to defend Mr. Lamoureux. He's a friend. He's my MP. He has been there for me when I call out to him. During the cannabis, every time I needed to get a hold of Health Canada, he would open those doors and I would meet with the Parliament Secretary to the Health Minister. I get it, what you are trying to say. You can't just show up for events. You need to work in the grounds. I will let Mr. Lamoureux or our MP answer to that question. What I can tell you is that I am very authentic. I do not pretend to be anyone that I'm not. I am a retired. I am a mother. I have a marriage of 44 years, a great partner in my life. And for me, I didn't want to do this. I just no longer can stand on the sidelines and have people complain to me about the disasters that are happening in our community. And I cannot just stand and do nothing. So I'm asking you, if you have questions, reach out to me. I will talk to you. I will listen to you. I will help in any way I can. And if you feel that I have earned your trust and I have earned your vote, please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on our radio show.
Thank you.
ਇਹ ਸਨ ਜੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮੇਪਲ ਤੋਂ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਸੀ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਐਡੀ ਕਲਿਸਟੋ ਟੈਵਰਸ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਪੱਖ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਵਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ। ਉਮੀਦ ਆ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਸਹੀ ਲੱਗੇਗੀ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇਕਰ ਇੱਕ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਦੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਮੈਂਟ ਸੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਆਪਦਾ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਰੇਜ਼ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਮੀਦ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਉਹ ਰੀਡ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਇਹ ਡੋਰ ਸਟੈਪਸ 'ਤੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਮੇਪਲਸ 'ਤੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਆ, ਅਤੇ ਉਮੀਦ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਵੋਟ ਕਰਨ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਾਓਗੇ। ਹੁਣ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਲਈ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ, ਮਿਲਾਂਗੇ ਅਗਲੀ ਵਾਰ। ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਲਈ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ।